with the dating life that has defined prior generations being thrown down the drain by today's millennials, and the nation of Japan being the former poster child of such trajectory, it was up to the Japanese to reinvent the romance genre with not only the intent to put a stop to the ever-aging population gap, but also to sell any related merchandise, which is ironic considering that they happen to contradict one another, with the latter having the upper edge. But what happens when you mix supernatural and sci-fi elements with a sprinkle of that oh so familiar, but fresh at the same time, pure teenage romance to the mix? You have something truly remarkable. And in the turbulent universe depicted in DanDaDan, the core that holds everything together is the awkward but truly lovey-dovey duo Ayase Momo and Takagura Ken. Okarun, that not only looked rizzed out but also shared great chemistry, relationship-wise and combat-wise. So let's see whether Bandai through the SH Figuarts line does justice to the now iconic duo. Now, hear me out. While the SH Figuarts line are top notch when replicating actual live action based characters into figure form, as portrayed through the Star Wars line, the same cannot be said for their anime based characters, as one of the worst anime figures I had the misery of laying my hands on was from the Figuarts line. But with recent releases as portrayed through the Kaiju No. 8 line that have been bangers, and luckily Ayase Momo here lives up to such standards. Firstly, taking a good old look at the head, Bandai seems to have this time around properly invested in duplicating the more or less complex nature of Momo's hair, as the individual hairlines and organically inscribed hair is beautifully rendered, something that was absent in previous SH Figuarts releases, but widely seen in recent releases, courtesy of Figma pioneering such features. This is not mentioning the individual hair spikes located at the front that pop out and add some feisty personality to Momo's design, and I'm pretty impressed at how long Momo's hair actually is as it reaches her shoulders and adds a hidden layer of femininity underneath, all of which combined portrays the perfect representation of the modern millennial gyaru aesthetic. But what is a girl if not for the face? As Bandai, just like their Kaiju No. 8 line, succeeded in replicating Momo's on-screen likeness into plastic form, as seen through the straight-out pencil-drawn eyebrows, the dark brown anime-style eye, with the gyaru eyelashes added in for measure, the still sharp but uniquely large regarding mass nose, the huge grinning mouth that outsizes most anime girls, and the puffy bloated cheeks that add to Momo's teenage but fiery nature, that all combine in Momo blurring the line between IRL and anime-based characters. And I almost forgot to mention, our beloved high schooler is packaged with her iconic Roswell green earrings that, considering the size, is well detailed, and adds an extra flair to Momo's unique appearance and differentiates her from the rest. Just take note that the earrings, which are usually seen attached to the ears, are this time attached to the hair, giving off the illusion that they're attached to the ears. But if you want to express Momo's various expressions and this run-of-the-mill grinning face isn't enough for you, Bandai has you covered, as they came packaged with lock and loading Momo with her diverse expressions. Firstly, there is this piss face that, with the inverted eyebrows, fury-filled pupils, and the open mouth, succeed in replicating Momo's interfering nature when danger comes, as well as her tsundere nature. And yes, our beloved gyaru here is a tsundere. So if you have an acquired taste, here's the millennial representation of a tsundere.
I love the kind of woman that can kick my ass.
But if you want to unveil Momo's more sensitive side, there is this blushing face that, with the uniquely shaped inverted eyebrows, semi-open eyes, right-looking pupils, the red blush beneath, and a small but awkwardly open mouth, accurately depicts when Momo wants to conceal her true feelings and doesn't know how to react. Typical of your awkward teenage romance. Or if you just say the name, Takagura-ken. But if you want to see Momo's more cheerful side, there is this happy smiling face that depicts the more positive charm of Momo with the uplifting eyebrows, the completely closed but similarly cheerful shaped eyes, the smaller yet still present red blush, and a planet-sized smiling mouth, and all combined perfectly portrays Momo when she's near the presence of a strong, manly, and well-dressed man who's awkward in social situations. But in unique situations where a man's lost his family jewels, Momo, as the typical gyaru she is, rather than expressing sorrow or remorse, instead expresses her vented-in comedic sense as she laughs the f*** out of the disabled people. And such assertive expression is portrayed through the completely inverted eyebrows, the completely watermark-shaped eyes, with a droplet of tears at the end, and a galaxy-scale mouth with all the innards being explicitly shown. That can easily rival the likes of the kaiju roster. Just make sure she doesn't make fun of certain people with disabilities, preferably those with blacked out drip.
Kids are cruel.
Moving below, a unique point regarding Momo is that unlike most of the anime roster, she actually has a neckwear that with her black neckwear that, while simple, actually adds to her edgy attire. This is not mentioning the shirt with the top being unbuttoned that, while definitely adding to the modern day drip, would have been a big no-no during my days in private school. But maybe the biggest no-no is the gigantic bow tie dangling down on the neck that, with its red and dangling nature, perfectly portrays Momo's unladylike and rebellious nature. Or, in short, rebel scum. Adding to Momo's rebellious nature is her lack of respect for the school uniform, as rather than the typical blazer or cardigan that is usually seen, Momo instead chooses to stand out and wear her pink knit sweater. That will make her sore sight in the eyes of the Japanese schools that value tradition over anything else.
Okay, boomer.
Does have actual drip and surely makes our titular tsundere a fashion diva among her peers. But the downside regarding the sculpt is the excess division lines placed throughout the knit sweater, especially the arms, that while adds extra mobility to the set figure, gives off the unnatural look contrary to the organic markings seen on Figma figures, but probably perfect when Okarun is rizzing out Momo.
Boobies.
Moving down to the skirt, compared to the respectful nature of the traditional school uniform that usually covers the knees, as the gyaru Momo is, she definitely shortened the skirt as the rebel she is, resulting in the skirt barely covering her thighs.
But I have to know. They're kids, you son of a bitch!
But probably better regarding physical performance. Moving down to the legs, due to the short nature of the skirt, Momo's legs are explicitly shown for the whole world to see, in which, as seen with other action-oriented anime high schoolers, pertains to thick thighs that accurately portrays Momo's healthy nature. This is not mentioning the long but wrinkled up white socks that at least covers her lower half, and the mundane school uniform shoes that have been seen throughout any anime footwear, but still decently sculpted. Then again, nothing special. When seeing the accompanying accessories that Momo has in her arsenal, let's just say it's more style over substance. Besides the various faces previously mentioned, there are the numerous hands. Besides the out-of-the-box fidgety hands that are these fists for punching the hell out of delinquents, these holding hands that can't hold anything that Momo is in company with, these karate chopping hands that will be useful for karate moves against hostiles, but considering Momo's lack of physical prowess, can only be used when Momo's laughing her ass off making fun of people with disabilities. Then there's this peace symbol hand that is usually seen when Momo's interacting with Okarun and having a great time. But unfortunately for mine, it happens to fall off too easily, probably due to disproportionate size regarding the ball joint. So I'll be very wary when opening your figure. This pointing finger hand that, just like the karate hands, is perfect when making fun of people with disabilities, and the wide open hands that are perfect when Momo is using the force. Using her psychic abilities that not only enable Momo to fight off extraterrestrials and yokais, just don't place her against entities with disabilities, as they can surely make Momo one of them. Just a shame there aren't any accessories that replicate Momo's psychic abilities. Just have to wait for Figma's iteration of the titular character to find out. Moving back to one of the line's strong points is the posability, in which Bandai strives towards improving the line's articulation with each release, making them stand toe-to-toe with even the likes of the Figma line as of late. So when keenly observing Momo's posability, the head, even with the long hair, can freely move up and down, side to side. The torso movement is more or less non-existent, even with the butterfly joint. Shoulder lift is limited. Arm movement, on the other hand, is superb. Bicep movement is there. Elbows can bend over 90 degrees. Run-of-the-mill hand movement. Waist movement is more or less statuesque. Even with a short skirt, the leg split is limited. This includes the leg movement. Knees can bend slightly over 90 degrees. Feet movement can freely move up and down, side to side, and a toe bend. So regarding Momo's range of movement, well, surely not a bad range and far better than those seen on Bandai's other line. I've seen better, especially with the Kaiju No. 8 line, that gives me a suspicion that Momo, being a character that relies on telekinesis rather than melee weapons, Bandai decided to prioritize more on Okarun regarding posability. Talking about Okarun, when observing our titular demon-possessed version, this is the figure that Bandai seems to have invested their money in, as it vastly moves away from the commonly seen human design and into a supernatural entity that redefines what it means to be a human. Such measures are firstly observed through the wrist-out hair that forsakes the nice boy nature that is accepted by Japanese schools and instead goes full-on Yugimoto, as the hair is all standing up with the drizzled-up curves added to boot. The color on the contrary is bleached out, with the only remaining one being the demonic red stripes, and the overall length and mass of the hair would be a godsend to the likes of third-degree burn patients and senior citizens. That all combine to form a hairstyle that not only equally matches Momo's fierce personality, but also to be a rebel. Rebel scum. But maybe the most creepy, or sexy depending on who you are asking, is the face, as Okarun happened to receive the Sith Lord treatment, as the once young and cute face has succumbed to the dark side, in which a mask that resembles a skull is there where the face was formerly placed. Not to mention the complete 180 in attitude, as the innocent kind-hearted boy is no more, and in his place is a depressed and anger-filled husk. Kinda went too dark there, huh? And taking a close look at the Sith Lord wannabe, the glasses that Okarun originally wore are still present, including the oversized lenses that would put even Sony's GM lenses to shame, the anger intent-filled eyes that perfectly envisions the code of conduct that are adopted by Sith Lords.
Sith, no bitches.
The demonic red stripes that cross the entirety of Okarun's face and kind of adds extra risk to the titular protagonist. And most importantly, the enormous demonic set of teeth that not only packs more biting power than the Big G, but are also perfectly aligned. That would most likely put a target over Okarun's head and surely put a smile to the British.
Laugh it up!
But if you want Okarun not in its battle mode, but in its Riz mode, you can easily remove the teeth, in which the glory of the demonic Okarun's full face is shown for the whole world to see. And looking at the face, Okarun seems to have lost the chubby cheeks for a sleek but heavily defined jawline, something that girls of his age would wet themselves over. This is not mentioning the unusually highly defined and accurate to real life human nose and the run-of-the-mill but still sexy mouth, all of which combine to depict the perfect representation of a Sigma male face, and signifies that Okarun got a better deal than the chosen one.
How can you do this? This is outrageous. It's unfair.
But if you aren't content with the out-of-the-box Sigma face, it either means your expectations are over the roof, or like me, you desire
Perfect organism.
And Bandai has you covered, as Okarun is accompanied by these alternative faces. Firstly, there is the left staring face that, with the crossed eyebrows and pupils directed to Okarun's side, makes it perfect when Okarun sees something he shouldn't have. Then there's this looking down face that is perfect when someone disses Momo, in which Okarun is forced to intervene to resolve such issues with brute force, or when Okarun deems himself superior to a particular race. But if a hostile that poses even the slightest of threats is present, there is this crossed, irritated face that, with the extra inverted eyebrows, more focused pupils, and the highlighted veins on the forehead, that all culminate in the perfect face when Okarun is near the vicinity of Momo, but has to deal with lesser grunts. But when Okarun is confronted with a handicapped boomer on life support, Okarun realizes he's up against a force that is beyond his league and is conflicted on whether to be angry or dosed in fear. Such symptoms are highlighted by the more or less horizontal eyebrows, the eyes that happen to be dilated, and the open mouth that all add up to portray the inner nerdy but frightened nature of a typical high schooler. Moving down to Okarun's new drip, the demonic do-over surely added some goth layers to the former uniform, in which the collar has adopted the oversized design that are usually seen in classical vampires, the amber-shaped ends that differentiate Okarun to his demonic contemporaries and add to Turbo Granny's high-speed powers. But the rest of the upper top is more or less identical to Okarun's original school uniform, as seen through the black blazer with the golden colored buttons located at the center, but it's at the waist that such do-over shines, as the neatly ended blazer is drastically transformed into a semi-cape that covers the legs, similar to those on both Jedi and Sith. And to add to the dark side's corruption is the blood red pigment and the ember shape at the end. But beware, as the semi-cape beneath is loosely applied to the rest of the torso, which while might provide for some extra posability, but at the cost of a stable figure, resulting in this flimsy outcome you're seeing right now. But maybe the biggest transformation is found in Okarun's physical proportions, as the stubby arms and torso were retrofitted with a Caucasian proportion. With a more lean and slim physique, the slim tight fit organically blends with the body, as seen through the wider chest and non-fat belly. Such fit is also seen throughout the arms, in which the longer length not only adds to the Sigma grind set, but also allows better reach, making Okarun much more lethal in melee combat. Moving to the golden jewels, moving to the functionless flesh bath, just like its lacking attributes, the drip sticks tight to the body part, which, while might be a death sentence for folks like you and me, Okarun is likely to be unaffected. What? But I gotta say, a nice and traditional belt is always nice to see regardless of your choice of pants. But the ash is surely something that didn't get the demonic do-over.
You're a fucking disappointment.
When observing the legs, as Turbo Granny's main mode of both transport and offense, Okarun received a bulk up regarding such parts, as the scrawny and thin legs are of yesteryear, as they have to accommodate Granny's mode of attack, in which the thighs, even with the black trousers covering them, put the likes of anime waifus to shame, and a slight kick can pulverize any unfortunate mortal to Kingdom Come, but is unlikely to retain similar effects on higher caliber kaijus. But a unique point of interest is that unlike you and me who wear shoes or socks when living out our daily lives, Okarun happened to adopt the kaiju approach, in which the remaining half of the legs are absent of any fabric, and instead just a birthday suit is enough when either outperforming the state-of-the-art jets or taking on hostile aliens. And as you can see, just like the rest of the body is devoid of any excess fat, in which the excess muscle definition and veins are available for show. I also can't go without mentioning the lengths that Bandai went and recreated the toenails that would be a godsend to individuals with certain fetishes. When closely observing the company accessories that Okarun has in its arsenal, it's more or less identical to those seen on its female contemporary. Besides the various faces previously mentioned, there are the accompanied hands, besides the out-of-the-box semi-holding hands that are perfect when Okarun is following his primeval instincts,
Boobies.
the fists that are perfect when fisting holy saints, semi-open hands that are usually there to pose in a wrist-out manner, and these straight-out open hands that are perfect when Okarun is slapping the hell out of other high schoolers. There are these grabbing open hands that are perfect when dealing with pesky grunts, and a right measuring hand that is used when Okarun is keenly looking at an object of interest. But if you want to recreate when Okarun was bestowed by Obi-Wan and received the Vader treatment, there is the semi-jaw that, rather than concealing all of Okarun's Giga Chad face, only the right side is covered, with the left being explicitly shown, to symbolize Takakura's inner conflict between his inner nerdy high schooler and a dark side entrenched Sith Lord persona. And that's all there is. So if you're expecting additional accessories such as Neko Granny, get the Figma version instead. Now, as Okarun being a half yokai entrenched in the dark side, he is bestowed with
many abilities some consider to be unnatural,
resulting in our dorky weeb surpassing the physical limits that plague your average individual. In doing so, don't expect our gothic Sith boy to be akin to Momo, but instead more akin to the likes of a Jedi Master.
Not grant you the rank of master.
The head can move up and down, left and right. Chest can slightly move up and down, side to side. Waist has a better side-to-side movement as well, and while shoulder movement is limited, the butterfly joints allow for some extra arm movement. Elbows can bend about 90 degrees, run-of-the-mill hand movement. Okarun's leg split makes Momo look like a virgin. Leg movement is of course superb, knees can bend over 90 degrees, limited feet movement, and a toe bend. So, regarding posability, while definitely not Bandai's best work, Okarun's range of movement far surpasses the likes seen on Momo and is similar to the level seen on Bandai's previous Kaiju No. 8 line, reassuring my suspicions that the titular company deemed the gothic Sith wannabe more favorable than the angsty teenage tsundere, giving me hope that Dark Okarun has the potential to be a fully fledged Sith Lord. When looking at how both high schoolers stand up regarding scale, you don't expect typical high schoolers to stand up next to either full-grown adults or cyborgs. But I couldn't have been ever more wrong, as these are millennial high schoolers with advancements in technology and abundance in nutritional intake. For better and for worse, this duo stands tall compared to their boomer generation. This can be seen as Momo stands at 14 centimeters or 5.5 inches tall, while the much more sleek and tall Okarun stands at a whopping 15 centimeters or 5.9 inches tall. Here's Momo and Okarun next to Gunpla, Kaijus, other Figuarts, and Figmas. So, what is there left to say? Bandai's iteration of both Ayase Momo and Okarun have left a lasting impression with their respective release, as both figures have endeavored upon recreating the likeness of their respective characters as shown in the anime. Such feats are portrayed through the expression-rich faces, unique drip, immaculate paint job, and the dynamic poses.
Okarun only!
But it is evident where Bandai spared no expense, as Momo, due to her human nature, is limited regarding her shine factor, which isn't helped by the limited accessories that fail to imitate her psychic abilities, not to mention her limited posability as well, while Okarun on the other hand is accompanied with accessories that accommodate his melee prowess, while also being bestowed with an impressive range of movement. With that said, while I can't say both figures are on equal terms, if you're a fan of DanDaDan and want to cheer for the now iconic duo, I would recommend both. But if I'm honest, I can only recommend Okarun, as he is what I would call a figure worth the price, while Momo, due to her faults, is more or less a skip for casual collectors. In doing so, I'm gonna give the SH Figuarts iteration of Momo a B- and Okarun an A-.